Hello and welcome to the DJJJ show. This is episode number 19, and if this is your first time listening, welcome, thank you, I appreciate it. You got 18 other episodes to check out whenever you got time, and if you've been listening to the show since the beginning, I appreciate you, and thanks for hanging with me. This is just a fun time for me to hang out in my garage studio and play some of my records. I got a big ass collection of records from, the last 20 or so years that I've been collecting them. And I get to listen to them a lot anyway, but it's also kind of fun just to throw some records together and record the podcast and share that with the people in my life. So hopefully you're enjoying it. Let's get started right away today with some music. I'm going to play the song What Road by Paradise Alley from the Studio Barnhouse Volume 1 compilation. This is definitely one of my all-time favorite records. The Studio Barnhouse label, I want to say it's Swedish. Yes, from Sweden. And it's always really fun, kind of like emotional, dancey house music, experimental house and techno, sometimes into like just pop territory, dancey pop. This is one of the moodier songs on the record. It's a little later in the compilation, but I have taken the liberty of speeding it up a little. I did that on accident earlier, and I really liked it because it gets more of like a booty shake and dance music vibe going on. So I guess this is the DJJJ edit of What Road by Paradise Alley, and then I'll play some more songs after that and be back to tell you what they were. Let's have some fun. Here we go.
What road should I go? Someone's round the corner, waiting for a donor. Someone I don't know. Wanting something special, wanting something extra, wanting something more. Now it's almost too late, waiting for the right train. Take me to my door. Where should I go? Should I go? Someone's round the corner, waiting for a donor. Someone I don't know. Wanting something special, wanting something extra, wanting something more. Now it's almost too late, waiting for the right train. Take me to my door. On the floor, almost on the right path, wanting something more. it's almost too late. Waiting for the right train. Take me to my door. Almost going insane. Almost on the floor. Almost on the right path. Wanting something more.
私は紅茶でレコードを聴いてる。夜にもどこへも出かけないわ。今は静かに暮らしているの。今はもう子猫と私、いつまでも子猫と私。子猫と私、今は静かに暮らしているの。友達はみんな忘れたかしら。花をつけて踊った私。時々子猫膝に一人で歌うの。昔の歌を尋ねてくる。友達もないし、今は静かに暮らしているの。今はもう子猫と私、いつまでも子猫と私。今はもう子猫と私、いつまでも子猫と私。
Yo, I'm back. This is DJJJ, and it's episode number 19 of the DJJJ show. What you just heard was Takami Hasegawa with Koniko to Watashi, and that's off of this Light in the Attic Records compilation that came out earlier this year in 2021, even though it's likely 2022 when you're hearing this. I am recording about 10 weeks ahead of schedule at this point for the show, but that's how I got to the end of season 2 so quickly. Next episode number 20 will be the grand finale of this season of the show, but I'm just cranking them out. I just come play records and hang out. It's a lot of fun, not especially demanding, and so I'm way ahead of schedule, but I do like to release one every week, not just release a bunch all at the same time. So anyway, this is still 2021 when I'm recording this, and that compilation that I was starting to tell you about is called Somewhere Between Mutant Pop, Electronic Minimalism, and Shadow Sounds of Japan, 1980 to 1988. I'm sure you've noticed the theme that all these compilations I play from have huge titles, very long titles, and they're very obscure music from around the world, usually. Anyway, that song, Koneko to Watashi by Takami Hasegawa, is definitely a highlight of that record for me, and I think I'll just play another song off that record as well coming up. But let me tell you what else we heard. Before that was Eddie C with Listen. I'm sure you remember that one. Nice little beat with just the word listen over and over again. And before that was Paradise Alley with What Road, my DJJJ exclusive sped up edit for the show that you won't hear anywhere else. Anyway, good times. I don't tend to mess with the speed of the records much on this show, but on some of my other DJ mixes, I do speed them up, slow them down to kind of make them work together a little bit better. But, that one I felt like it could use that just for kicking off the show a little more upbeat. But you can always find the original of that. Like I said, it's Paradise Alley. So, yeah, I'm just going to keep playing records for you right now. Wally, it's okay, bub. There's a deer outside, and the wind is blowing, and there's just this deer that's kind of hanging out real close to the studio, so the dogs are a little bit spooked, Wally and Gus. We live near a really big state park, so there's a lot of deer that just kind of hang out in my yard and come near the studio, and I don't mind them, but they cause a little issue with the dogs sometimes, and there's a lot of traffic on the road I live on, so I always worry about it a little bit. You're okay, Wally? Hey, bub, it's all right. Okay, so we're all just going to hang out now. The deer's outside, the dogs are chill. Let's listen to some more music. Dip in the Pool is the name of the next artist, and this is also off that Somewhere Between compilation on Light in the Attic of Japanese music from the 80s. That's, mutant pop is what it says, but kind of, experimental electronic stuff, minimalism. I really like the poppier songs on the record. There's some pretty weird stuff too, but it's good compilation all around. Anyway, this song's called Hasu no Enishi by Dip in the Pool. And then I'll play you some more records, and I will talk to you more after that. Enjoy.
Lover's voice
September reverses and the equinox is fleeing. Winter slides into fall. When glimpsed in leaps of 9 months or more, the seasons reverse. The spring back and the fall forward. They reshuffle when you touch down at the long interval. September reverses and the equinox is fleeing. And summer becomes spring. The seasons reshuffle at a span of a year and a half. September reverses and the equinox is fleeing. They reshuffle when you touch down after long intervals. September reverses and the equinox is fleeing. And winter slides into fall. They shuffle because it's been more than 2 years. First seeing you in a snowbank, then a sweater, and then a swelter. They reshuffle with leaves of some time. Or reshuffle with leaps of distance. They reshuffle with leaps of some time. Or reshuffle with leaps of distance.
Don't worry, keep Keep doing it. I'm just recording you. It's a microphone.
C'est quoi ça?
Oh, what time?
Non, mais ça.
This?
Ouais.
It's a microphone. I'm recording you blowing off firecrackers. Is it okay? Is it okay if I record you setting off the firecrackers? I don't know what time it is. Sorry.
Vous partez quand?
I'm sorry?
Vous partez quand? Frère.
No, go.
Hein?
Keep blowing them up.
D'Angleterre, vous êtes? D'anglais?
I only speak English. I'm sorry.
Ah ouais.
All right, it's me again. That last song you heard was Clara Mannschein with Fischer des Meeres der Still, and that's the alias. Clara Mannschein is the alias of Walter Bachauer, and that was a 1981 album by Clara Mannschein. I have a weird bootleg of that, but it's kind of cool, Berlin school electronic synth krautrock kind of sound. And before that, we heard Gaster del Sol with The Seasons Reverse, and really great 1990s Drag City, I think Chicago act, kind of as I've discussed before with some of those Drag City and Tortoise adjacent groups. Very experimental, kind of cross lots of genres, definitely something you can call post-rock, but that's a great album. I think Jim O'Rourke's on that one. The dude from Oval might be on that one. Very experimental, but still like leaning towards rock and pop song structures at times. Before that, we heard Woo with Simpty. Woo is a couple of dudes that were brothers, 1980s home recording, very unique sound. I have a lot of their records, so I'm sure I'll be playing more from Woo in the future. And before that, we heard Dip in the Pool with Hasu no Inishi. Just a nice, kind of weird Japanese pop 80s song to start us off on that block. Hopefully you dug those songs, and you can always find more if you look at the names of the artists in the descriptions on YouTube or Mixcloud, wherever you may be listening. As you know, my name is DJJJ, aka John Rogers. I am a music enthusiast, record collector, music obsessive, I guess, but I love to pick the music and listen to records and collect records and learn about new music. And so this show's kind of just an extension of that part of my personality. I know the pandemic messed up a lot of people and kind of forced us into isolation sometimes, but I already spent a lot of time, listening to music and hanging out in my studio and working on music by myself, even before the pandemic. So this is just kind of a natural growth of me having a lot of time to spend doing what I love, listening to records and putting things together to share with other people. So I appreciate you listening. But, the point of me saying all that was I'm just going to keep playing some music for you. If you listen to season 1 of the DJJJ show, you're probably familiar with some of the clips of Alan Watts that I've played, but I've had more guests since then, so I haven't really done that a lot recently. But I was thinking about, for this next track, I'll play some Alan Watts, play some more records for you, and then I'll come back and tell you what you heard. As always, I appreciate you listening. Thanks for hanging out. Let's hear some Alan Watts and some more records.
It is quite alien to Western thought to conceive that the external world, which is defined as something that happens to you, and your body itself as something that you've got caught up with, it is quite alien to our thought to consider all that as you yourself. Because you see, we have such a myopic view of what oneself is. It's as if, in other words, we selected how much experience is really to be regarded as me. As if you focused your attention on certain restricted areas of the whole panorama of things that you experience, and say, I will take sides with that much of it. Now, we come here right at the start to an extremely important principle, which is the different points of view you get when you change your level of magnification. That is to say, you can look at something with a microscope and see it a certain way. You can look at it with the naked eye and see it in a certain way. You look at it with a telescope and you see it in another way. Now, which level of magnification is the correct one? Well, obviously, they're all correct. They're just different points of view. You can, for example, look at a newspaper photograph under a magnifying glass, and where with the naked eye you will see a human face, with the magnifying glass you will just see a profusion of dots, rather meaninglessly scattered. But as you stand away from that collection of dots, which all seem to be separate and apart from each other, they suddenly arrange themselves into a pattern. And you see that these individual dots add up to some kind of sense. Now you'll see at once from this illustration that maybe you, when you take a myopic view of yourself, as most of us do, but you may add up to some kind of sense that is not apparent to you in your ordinary consciousness. When we examine our bloodstreams under a microscope, we see there's one hell of a fight going on. All sorts of microorganisms are chewing each other up. And if we got overly fascinated with our view of our own bloodstreams in the microscope, we should start taking sides, which would be fatal, because the health of our organism depends on the continuance of this battle. What is, in other words, conflict at one level of magnification is harmony at a higher level. Now, could it possibly be, therefore, that we, with all our problems, conflicts, neuroses, sicknesses, political outrages, wars, tortures, and everything that goes on in human life, are a state of conflict which can be seen in a larger perspective as a situation of harmony? Well, it is claimed, you see, that some human beings have broken through to that vision, that they've slipped somehow or other into states of consciousness where they see the apparent disintegration and disorganization of everyday life as the functioning of a totality which at its level is completely harmonious. And you could say, aha, at last I see, I got the point. I've seen how all this makes sense. But what this insight depended upon was your overcoming the illusion that space separates things. That is to say, the space, the interval between your body and mine. The interval created by birth at one end and death at the other. And then after somebody's death, then somebody else's birth. These are events with intervals between them. And normally we regard these intervals in time and these intervals in space as having no importance, no function. We tend to see the universe itself as really consisting in all the stars and galaxies. That's what it is. That's what we notice. But the space in which all this happens is sort of written off as something that isn't really there. But what one has to realize is that the space is an essential function of the things in the space. After all, you can't have separate stars unless there is a space around them. Eliminate the space and you will see you couldn't have this phenomenon at all. And vice versa. You couldn't have the space. They wouldn't be there in any sense whatsoever if there weren't the bodies in it. So the bodies in the space and the space are two aspects of a single continuum. They're related together in exactly the same way as a back and a front. And you just don't get one without the other. So the moment you see that intervals, that space is connective, you can understand at once how you are not just to be exclusively defined as a flash of consciousness that occurs between two eternal darknesses, which is the popular common sense view which Western man has of his own life. That you consider that in the darkness that comes before your birth, there was no you, and in the eternal darkness that follows your death, there is likewise no you. And that just what you have to realize is that life is a pattern of immense complexity. And what you call yourself as a living organism, say, I am my whole body at the very least. Now, what is that body? That body is recognizable and I recognize my friends when I meet them again, with luck, and you recognize me. Although the last time any of you saw me, I was absolutely something entirely different from what I am now. Just as the flame of a candle is never a constant. The flame of a candle is a stream of hot gas. Only you say the flame of the candle as if it were a constant. Well, it is a recognizably constant pattern. The spear-shaped outline of the flame and its coloration is a constant pattern. But in exactly the same way, we are all constant patterns. And that's all we are. The only thing constant about us at all is the doing rather than the being. It's the way we behave, the way we dance. Only there's no we that dances. There's just the dancing. Just as the flame is the streaming of hot gas, just as a whirlpool in a river is a whirling of streaming water. There is no thing that whirlpools. There is the whirlpool, and in the same way, each one of us is a very, very delightfully complex undulation of the energy of the whole universe. Only by our process of miseducation, we've been deprived of the knowledge of that fact, not as if though there was someone to blame for this, because it's always with our own tacit consent. Because life is basically a game of hide and seek. Because life is pulsation, on and off. Here it is, and now it isn't. And by being this pulsation, we know it's there. See, you don't know what you mean by on unless you know what you mean by off. That's why when we want to awaken someone, we knock at the door. It's not enough to slam the door once with your fist and make a big noise, but you keep up a pulsation, because that by its on and offness attracts attention. All life, you see, is this flickering in and out. Only there are enormous rhythms in it. There are very fast flickering ins and outs, like the reaction of light upon our eyes, such that if I take a lighted cigarette in the dark and I spin it, you will see a circle of fire. Because the reflection of that cigarette tip on your retina lasts, it endures. Just in the same way as on a radar screen. An image stays a little while until it's revivified by another round. So in that way, you see, you notice continuity.
Right on. Not much more I can say. This is DJJJ, and you were listening to some Alan Watts clips from a lecture alongside the music of Rick Kestner with Radius. And that first song, that really long, kind of dubbed out ambient electronic track was Vladislav Delay with Kara from his insanely good album from the year 2000, Multila, which has been reissued, I think, in 2020. But I don't know much about Vladislav Delay, but I really like everything that I've heard. It's just that real glitchy, early 2000s sound that I am very fond of. You can probably tell from listening to the show. I hope you've enjoyed listening to episode number 19 and all the music I played. I know some people are probably kind of annoyed by the Alan Watts stuff, so I try not to do it too often, but I listen to him a lot for, meditations and things to think about, so it's always nice to play him on the show a little bit. But as I always tell you, you can hit me up on Instagram at Junraw, Junraw, if you want to give me some feedback or ask questions or possibly be a guest on a future episode. But I'm going to wrap it up for today. Thanks for hanging out. The next record I'm going to play you is from the Moomins soundtrack. I mentioned it on episode number 18 when I played a song that I would most likely keep that record out here and play the theme from it. And that's a nice short one to take us out today. So this is the theme from the Moomins UK show. And hopefully you enjoy it. I'm DJJJ. I'll talk to you later. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.